Then after joining, please, after joining, you mute. So you join with your audio so that you can hear. So I was still telling you that under Kingdom Planted. Okay. Please, when you come, this chat box, use it to only ask questions concerning the topic that we are going to be covering. So under Kingdom Planted, that's where I look at flowering plants and Angiospermatophyte, and so it's going to be our main concern today. Of course, just like the word itself, flower. These are plants which can bear flowers. Now, flowering plants, typically, they have two systems. One, they have what we call a root system. And then two, they have what we call a shoot system. Now, these systems enable the plants to survive, to obtain nutrients, and to survive within their environment. I've already told you, please. Okay, thank you. And then, if you can look at this plant here. Now, this is a tomato plant. The upper part of the plant is the shoot or the shoot system, and the lower part of the plant, which is normally in the ground, is the root system. Now, we shall have to look at everything here in detail. And for today, if someone is asking where did we stop last time, so just focus. I've given you a brief background of where we are supposed to be. Now, today we are going to focus so much on the root system. We are going to focus so much on the root system, and then in the subsequent lessons, we shall also focus now on the shoot, because the shoot system has leaves, it has stem, it has the fruits, so we shall also look at those ones. Sure. Now, when you look at the flowering plants, they have organs which are categorized, one as reproductive organs, making up the fruits and the seeds. The fruits and the seeds. I think people eat seeds and people love seeds. And they are directly involved in what we call reproduction. That is, if a plant wants to literally give birth to a new plant, to produce another plant. And then secondly, they can be categorized as vegetative organs. And now these vegetative organs are not directly involved in reproduction. And we shall look at all of them in detail. One, we shall begin with the root, then stem, and then the leaves. Now, for today, we are going to so much focus on the root system. Now, the root system has different types. It has different types. One, we have what we call a taproot system. Now, here you're having a picture of the Amaranthus root system. Amaranthus, you can also call it dodo. For some of you understand Luganda. There is a plant which is called dodo in Luganda. It is you can call it also pigweed for the English. Pigweed. It normally likes growing close to the toilets in villages, and it's a good plant. People eat it. Now you can look at it here. This is its root system with a taproot and with these lateral roots. Someone is asking. When you want to say something, please raise your hand. Raise your hand. Yes. Yes, you'll have to give your contributions. Okay. If you want to give your contribution, you don't need. You can raise your hand. You can raise your hand, and I will choose you. There's an option of raising your hand. Okay. And then the taproot system consists of mainly the root growing straight downwards from the radicle, and it gives rise to the side roots, which you can call lateral roots. And this is in picture 1 here. This is what we are looking at. And it is very much characteristic of Dicotalinos plants. Now, Dicotalinos plants, if you want to picture them, I think most of you have ever seen a bean plant. Now, bean plants have those broad leaves. Okay? Now, anything that looks like a bean plant, most of the time it falls under the dicotyledonous plants. Most of the time, falls under the dicotyledonous plants. Okay, and then the monocotyledonous plants. If you want to understand what we mean by monocotyledonous plants, picture a plant, a grass plant. Anything that looks like grass will fall under the monocotyledonous plant. What do I mean by looking like grass? Anything with narrow leaves, with parallel leaf veins, with a leaf sheath, fibrous root system, all those ones will fall under the monocotyledonous plants. Then secondly, we have what we call a fibrous root system. We have what we call a fibrous root system. Now, this root system doesn't have a main root, but rather almost all its roots are of the same size. And I've already told that if you want to picture what we mean by a monocotyledonous plant, if you want to understand what we call by a monocotyledonous, yes, please. Yes, Mboa, you can ask. Please ask your question. When you're asking, you unmute and then you ask. We shall be able to get you. Yes, can you please ask the question? Yes, Akim Wide. You have a question, please ask. When you have a question, I'm seeing people have raised up. When I choose you, you unmute and you ask. Hakim, if you have no question, yes, Mary Bowa, please ask your question.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, please, go ahead.
I'm not.
Teacher.
Come again, I've not got your question.
Teacher, we have just joined the lesson. What was the first root system?
Oh, so you want me to review? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then Roman. Okay, for some of you have come late. Okay, I'm doing it for today. I'm doing it for today to review backward, but at the moment they say that the lesson is beginning at 2, please always come in time so that you can understand. Now, I began with giving you a brief background, okay? Now, I need each one of you to listen to me carefully. Biology is the subject that we are looking at. Now, in biology, when you join senior 1, you begin with the introduction in biology. Take note, don't write on my screen. After in the introduction, you study why you study biology, then you study the characteristics of living organisms. Now, after that, you study the plant and animal cell. Under plant and animal cell, that's where you also look at, Trevor, don't write on the screen. That's where you also look at what we call the microscope. Now, when you study the microscope, you go to another topic, a subtopic called classification. Now, under classification, we study 5 kingdoms. Kingdom 1, that is Kingdom Monera, and then you study also Kingdom Protoctista. Then you study Protoctista. Then you also study another kingdom called fungi. And then you also study another kingdom called Animalia. Kingdom Animalia. And then you study another kingdom called Plantae. Please don't write on the screen. Don't try to write on the screen. I hope my admin can help me deactivate them from, okay. So, and then having looked at these kingdoms, okay, now under kingdom Plantae, it has about 4 phyla. Phylum Brophyta, we have some other phylum Tracheophyta. Now, there's one phylum called Phylum Angiospermatophyte. That is the phylum for the flowering plants, okay? And this is the one that we are looking at in detail. So I'm just giving you a brief background to take us to this. This is where we are now. Flowering plants, that is the phylum Angiospermatophyte. And when we are looking at flowering plants, we look at the systems that they are composed of. One, the root system and the shoot system. But then this plant bears organs that make it up. And these organs are categorized as reproductive organs and vegetative organs. Now, the vegetative organs are entirely in charge of making sure that this plant reproduces. Okay. Please always mute. I can't mute. Please always mute your mic. Okay. So, and then we also have what we call vegetative organs. That is the root, stem, and the leaves. These ones are not directly involved in reproduction, okay? Much as they can also be used, okay? But they are not directly, much as they can also be used. Now, today we are going to look at the root system. We're going to examine the roots in detail. And this is where we are. I hope everyone is at par now. Then, looking at the root system, we began with the taproot system, and I gave an example of the pigweed. Pigweed, commonly known as dodo in Luganda. For some of you who understand the Luganda dialect, it's called dodo, and this is the root which I was able to get. Okay, and then from there we can also look at the fibrous root system. Now, this is common to grasses, anything that looks like a grass, it falls under Monocot. Those are the grasses, and for them they don't have almost have to be of the same size as you can see in this picture here, and they tend to have and then we can try to understand the primary. Someone has a question? Yeah, when you have a question, you raise your hand. I'll be able to get it. Yes, Lillian, you have a question. Please ask.
No, Chami, I thought when we talk about the types, we mean the primary roots and secondary roots. So what do you have to say?
Okay, thank you for that question. Thank you for that question. Lillian is saying that when we talk of the types of roots, he understands primary root and then secondary roots. Now, what you must know, such a grouping of primary and secondary, primary actually means first, like the first roots to come out, that's the primary. And then the secondary, those are the ones that normally come second after the primary roots have come. Okay. Now, when we are categorizing these roots, we do not, okay, you may talk of primary and secondary, that but they have types in them. They have types, and these are the ones that we are learning for now. And this actually is not even just type, but root systems. Okay, we are looking at root system. A system, that means it's composed of different. So try to one by one primary functions. Those major first roots form or okay. So one is absorption of water and mineral salts. The first major or primary function. That is absorption of water and mineral salts. Then secondly, anchorage of the plant. Anchorage means to hold the plant family in the ground. They're holding the plant family in the ground. And then the other one is conduction of water and solids. After the water has been absorbed, it can be conducted inward. And then lastly, the storage function. Okay. Then we can go to the next. I've already told you that when you have a question, you can type it in the chat room here. Here, you can always ask the question. And then these are the functions of roots. One, they anchor the plant family in the soil. They absorb water and mineral salts from the ground. They conduct the absorbed water here. They are already summarized. And is what? Studied right from primary. One question. It says that which one of the following is not the main function of the root? Now, if you have identified A, B, C, or D, you can type your answer here. Some of you are just using it to chat. You chat later. We are in a lesson. So we use this chat box to only write answers. So if you answer all, you can raise your hand. I choose you, and then you say the answer. Now, Amani says A. Which one of the following is not the main? So Amani says A, anchorage. And then Cool James says B, storage. And then C, that is conducting water to the stem. This is stem, not stem. Okay. Then Kamaliza says D, that is absorption of water. When you look at this question, analyze, there is this word not. They're saying which one of the following is not the main. It could be a function, but it is not a major. It's not one of the main functions. Okay. So someone, Kauka says A, then Nansubga says A, Giovanni says A. Okay. Now, people who are saying A, it means that one of the major role of roots is not anchorage. Anchorage means to hold the plant family in the ground. Okay. Okay, let me write it here. Anchorage means to hold the plant family in the ground. Hold the plant family in the soil. So when you look at any tree at your home, do you think that the roots are not, even if it just slips down, that is what like you are saying. If you have chosen A, you are like saying that even if the plant just slips on the ground, it's not a major function. And then some people are saying B, come on, saying B, that is storage. B, yeah, a plant, but even if they don't store, it can store in the stem, it can store in the leaf. So this is not a main function. Conducting water, a plant needs water all through. So it must have the water. So this is also among the major functions. Then absorption of water, this is also among the major functions. So the best answer is B, that is storage. Storage is not a major function because it has some other areas where it can store. The water. And I thank everyone who has been able to identify the answer. Okay. Then we can go to the next question. You see, these roots can also be modified. Who knows the meaning of the word to modify? Who knows the meaning of the word to modify? Okay, to modify. Because, excuse me, sir, have you stopped presenting because I've lost the screen? Maybe some of you, the network is not okay. You just have to refresh again and click in the link and join again. For some of you have lost. Someone is saying that to modify means to specialize or to arrange in other groups, differences. Someone saying support. Okay, differences. To modify, like something, I think you've heard of upgrading or becoming, having some other ability. Okay. Now, roots have their main functions. Okay. For example, these are the ones that we just looked at here. Okay. That is conducting water, absorption of water, and then anchorage. But then some can be modified to perform some other functions. And one of them, one modification is the storage roots. Now the storage roots, one, we have carrots. Did you know that these are roots that you eat? And they, of course, they are very good and they are very delicious. And I think some of you eat them, okay? And then, yes. Did you know that also the sweet potatoes? I hope some of you have ever seen the sweet potato. Did you know that sweet potatoes are also roots? They are roots.
Yes, it's used for eating.
Okay. And did you also know that cassava are roots? Cassava are also roots, and you can see them, and that's why I think you can actually understand. Okay. And yes, someone has a question. Yes, please ask. Joshua, you have a question. Please ask.
You know, cassava.
Come again.
The root.
Please ask the question again.
Excuse me, teacher.
Excuse me. I've not got your question. Yes, please.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
I think
yes, please ask. I can hear you. Yes, please. Ask your question. I can hear you. Come again, you thought? Okay, thank you for that contribution. Someone thought that cassava was a stem. Someone is saying cassava was a stem, but you can see here, these are the roots. You can already see that. I think most of you have ever seen cassava, and you can see its system clearly in the picture and the leaves. So for some of you had that misconception. And people are already saying, okay, yeah. So this middle picture here, picture 2, I got the picture right from the roots. These are the ones, this is what you eat as cassava. Now these are the stems, this one that is moving up, and these are the leaves. So for some of you had that misconception that cassava is a stem, yeah, I think I've clarified it now. And then for some of you who have forgotten cassava, for some of you who don't know cassava, cassava is called muwogo in Luganda. And then this carrot, I think it doesn't have a proper name. They just call it carrot. And then this is the sweet potato. Sweet potato, commonly known as lumonde in Luganda. This is the sweet potato in picture 3. Okay. And then when it is cooked, this is how it looks like. Of course, it has variety. Some are kind of white. They have a white layer skin, and this is kind of purple. And then Mawanda is saying, how about onions? I'll talk about them. Just relax. I'll talk about one by one. But this is one of the modified roots. That is a storage. Some roots are modified to store food. And then how about bulbs? Yes, I'm coming there. We can go to the next, breathing roots. These, for some of you have forgotten where we are. We are looking at root modification. Now we have what we call breathing roots. Now, if you've been to a swamp, there is a swamp. For some of you have been there are some swamps. I don't know whether you've ever been to a swamp, but and this picture here, picture 1, is a white mangrove plant. And now it grows. These breathing roots, they grow upward. You can see that they are growing upward, so that they can trap air, because normally inside here, since the ground is waterlogged, then there's not enough air down. And if you want to look at how it is in 2 dimensions, this is the picture here, picture B. They move upward to form what we call the pneumatophore. Senior 2, because this is senior 2 class, even if you don't know this term. But if you just call them breathing roots, just call them breathing roots, and you can see it has a major trunk, and these are other breathing roots. Then we also have what we call stilty roots. We also have, so Kulata is saying breathing roots. I know one called white mangrove. That is good if you have seen it before. If you have seen it before, that's good. And then stilt roots, you're going to find them in the red mangrove, and then it moves down. Okay, there's this other picture. I don't know whether you guys have seen this before. And role is to just give extra support. They give extra support to the plant. And I think you can see. Yes, please.
Sir, can you please go back to the last page? I was still copying.
Oh, you are copying.
Yes.
Now, what I'll do, I'll share these notes in the class group, and we shall also upload them in the Google Classroom. So here you just need to understand, and you ask questions, even if you don't copy. Okay. So we shall be able to share these notes. Okay, I think I've cleared the air. After the lesson, we are going to share these notes. Don't worry. Okay.
Yeah.
And then we also have what we call prop roots. We also have what we call prop roots. And yes, please. Please, you can ask. Yes, you can ask, please.
Are there any importance?
Come again.
Are there any importance? Excuse me, teacher.
Okay, thank you for that question.
Excuse me, teacher.
Question. Yes, please.
I can't see your screen. I can't see your screen.
Normally it is because of network. So you can rejoin again.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes, please.
Don't prop roots do the same thing as stilt roots?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. You've had a question, don't prop roots do the same thing? Yes, that is true. They do, but the difference is they are going to be found in different plants. The other ones are in mangrove, and they are even huger and longer. Okay, but now you check. This one, I think some of you have seen this before. Yes, please.
Chat about Irish potatoes.
Now we shall look. Okay, thank you. Now, Irish potatoes, they are not under roots. They're not under roots. We shall study them. Thank you for that question. Okay. And then Techno, come on, you have a question? Okay, so normally what you should always do, you rename yourselves because you may not know the name of your phone. Said that I can always call on your name in case you have a question. Yes, Wide. Wide, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I just forgot that I had raised up a hand.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Okay, let us continue. I was still telling you that prop roots, teacher, why didn't we put sugar canes in modified roots? Now, you can see that I have them here. They have also these prop roots. These are sugar canes. Thank you for that observation. And they are going to be found on these lower stems. They will have these small prop roots as well. Okay. And then you can see here, this is sorghum. Okay. This is sorghum. Now we are having picture A, we are having picture B, and picture C. Now this is sorghum in picture C. These are sugar canes, but these are what we call the prop roots. These ones, and they also provide small extra support holding the plant family, and that's why they will be immediately on close to the ground, close to the ground, like you can see here, and then you can see here. Of course, they are more prominent in the sorghum and then the maize plant. Okay, and then we have a question here. If you have been following, prop roots in the banyan tree. I don't know whether you've ever seen the banyan tree. Are 4.
No.
Prop roots in the banyan tree are 4. So you can either tell me whether A, B, C, or D. So what do you think is the answer? Okay. Yes, for getting A, someone is saying respiration. Did we look at prop roots having a function of respiring? No, this is wrong. And then someone else is saying D, providing extra support. I think this is what we have just looked at, which is correct. Breathing was for the other breathing roots. Okay. Absorption, no. So thank you for those of you who have been able to understand that the answer is D. We can continue. There's another question. This question was brought in UNEB. This question was brought one time in UNEB, and it says that the root modification shown below is 4. A says storage, B says excretion, C says breathing, and D says extra support. Now, if you had such UNEB that year, what would be your answer?
C.
I'm saying cool. James saying C. Okay, Bruno says C. Matiang, Joram, they're saying C. Okay, thank you. If you had such that year, I think most of you would be able to get it. Okay. And then we can go to another root modification. That is the buttress roots. Now, buttress roots, these are thick roots growing from the base of certain stems. For example, the muvule tree. If you have seen muvule tree in your home area, the silk cotton and many. Okay, and you're going to find that a tree normally has these huge trees which give it or anchor, give it extra support. I don't know whether I've ever seen such a tree with these huge kind of roots on top. Now, if you have been to a place called Botanical Gardens in Entebbe, there are many of these trees with these buttress roots. These are what we call the buttress roots. If you have been to that side of Entebbe or in any or Mabira forest. Nisi has seen the silk cotton. Yeah. Namukisa is saying, yeah. I think you have some of these in your home area. Huge trunks and huge roots. These are called buttress roots. And then we also have what we call clasping roots. Now with the clasping roots, to clasp, like you attach, you climb. Now these roots grow from the nodes of climbing stems, such as vanilla.
Yes.
Now in picture 1, this is the vanilla plant that you are seeing with these leaves. This is the vanilla plant. You can see that it has these clasping roots. Okay. Plant. Don't know whether I've seen this before. These are clasping roots as well. Okay. And then here we have the orchid in picture 2 here. Please don't Hakimu, don't write on the screen. Just rub off your things. So in picture 2, these are the orchids. Yes, you have a question, please ask. Please ask your question. Someone is saying, excuse me, but they are not asking. So you should say, excuse me, when you have a question to put forth.
Excuse me, teacher.
Wait, you have a question? Yes, please.
Why do some plants have clasping roots?
Okay, thank you for that question. So why have now you find that most of these plants, they are going to, someone has an answer to it for support, someone saying for support. Okay, so you find that there are some plants naturally they have weak stems. Now why do plants want to grow moving up? You know that these plants want to grow moving up because the sunshine or the sunlight is up, and you know that these plants need this sunlight to get energy. Okay, so this plant, if it is down, if it is growing from the ground, it's not going to compete for the sun favorably. And what do? They instead develop roots. Their roots modify as clasping roots, so that they can attach themselves on these huge tall plants that they can grow upward and they can carry out photosynthesis. I hope for support. Okay, for support, because they normally have weak stems. We can go to epiphytic roots. We have epiphytic roots. Yes, you have a question? Please ask.
Does a passion fruit also have clasping roots?
Okay. Thank you for that question. For the passion fruit, we shall look at it under the stem.
Excuse me.
Okay, we shall look at it under the stem, the roots. Yes, please. Please ask.
Perfect.
Oh, say, David, you have a question, you ask. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Pardon, on what?
On
okay.
this.
So we are looking at the epiphytic roots. Yes. Okay.
Elaborate more.
Okay. I'm elaborating now. Just listen carefully. Now we have what we call epiphytic. Now, very many students find it hard to pronounce these words. Now, what you should always do, read these words in syllables. Now, this is epiphytic, then roots, epiphytic roots. Don't try to look at the word wholesomely and then you're going to fail to pronounce it. So this is epiphytic roots. Now, epiphytic roots are going to be found on what we call epiphytes. Okay? Actually, epi means something which is on top. And phytes means something to do with the plant. So epi, those on top of plants. Now, I think you've ever seen some plants which grow on top of other plants, like on branches. So you have some plant. I'm thinking you're having a tree here, and then you find there is some plant which is not part actually, but it is growing on top of another plant with even some roots there. Those are what we call epiphytic plants. Now, this is a different plant from one which is growing on top of it. Now, those are what we call epiphytes. Epi on top, then phytes, it has to do with plants. Now, these ones grow on top of other plants. Now, these plants need support. They grow and get support from these other plants. And the roots normally hang freely on top or within the atmosphere, and then they normally absorb moisture from the atmosphere. And those are what we call epiphytes. And you can see this is an example. Yes.
What are the roles of those roots?
Okay. They have, one of them is absorbing moisture from the atmosphere. Okay. Absorbing moisture because you're going to find some are going to be hanging or attaching it on the tree where it's growing, and then some are going to just be hanging. Okay. So those are what we call epiphytes. They are very, very common. There is one which is called, I think, in Uganda, in Zugaze. I don't know if they've seen it. There are quite many species, and I think you've seen them before in your home areas. Someone is asking, passion fruits are of which type of modified roots? Passion fruits, please don't think about passion fruits under roots. We are going to talk about them under something else. Don't think about passion fruits under roots. And then Edna says, are they the same as clasping? No. Yes, please.
Teacher, how do we get
Please ask.
these drawings?
Yeah, I've told you that I'm going to share these notes in the group, and every one of you will have to get them. So please don't worry about it.
Teacher, but teacher, I'm not in the group. I have just joined.
Excuse me. Teacher, I beg your parent to. Excuse me, teacher.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Excuse me, teacher.
Excuse me, can you mute your microphones? Mute your microphones, please. The teacher is coming back. Mute.
Yeah, thank you for that. I was still telling you that we have a plant called Comelina. Now, Comelina in Luganda It is called Inanda, Comelina, Inanda. In English, wandering dew, or commonly, yeah, so maybe it's a common name. So Comelina, it has those small leaves with the pale leaf veins in it. But what we normally do, we pick roots because they have those adventitious roots on them. So we make a cutting to see the transverse section to the root. So for the syllabus, senior 2, we are supposed to know the structure of the tissue plan of the transverse section of the root. Okay, and I'm going to help you make a drawing of it now, just here. I'm going to help you make a drawing of it. Just a moment. Let me get a pen here, and then let me first put this here down. I hope each one of you is able to see now. This, when you get a root, okay, I'm assuming of Comelina of not Comelina, we are beginning with the dicot of a bean plant, and you make a cross section like this. You cut across, that is from left to right. This is what you see here. But for our syllabus, for you don't have to draw this very one. You actually have to draw a plan, and this is how we draw it. Now we begin with the outer epidermis, this one here, and this is how it is. So you draw a, okay, so you draw this outer epidermis like that. You draw the outer epidermis like that. You draw the outer epidermis like that. What you are seeing, these are root hairs. Now, this is a root hair. 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 Now, it is normally double-lined. You're not getting me? Maybe some of you, it is network. You may rejoin again. Now, check. What I've just drawn is this and this layer for the outer epidermis is what I've drawn. Now, this is just part of it, so it's supposed to be round. Okay. Now, having drawn, this is the epidermis. Okay, let me write epi. Okay, let me write epi.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Yes. That's happening right now.
Yes, please ask. You're all not seeing the screen?
We are seeing, teacher.
Teacher, we are not seeing.
We are seeing.
We are
For some of you, maybe you are not seeing it. Please mute. Yes, mute, and then you'll be able to see well. Okay. Now, this is the root hair.
Excuse me, teacher.
Yes. Yes, please ask.
I've not understood.
I repeat.
Yes.
Okay. Let me repeat for you.
But so I have not got you.
Okay, let me repeat. Let me repeat. Okay. So listen. Don't write on my screen and pay attention. Okay. I've been telling you that you are supposed to know the transverse section of the root of a monocot. That is, a monocot is any plant that looks like grass. Grass is also in Uganda, grass, you know, grass. Now you get the roots of the grass, okay? And then we make a transverse section. A transverse section is like you get a razor blade and you cut like that, and then you extract a very thin layer. Now, having gotten that thin piece, you place it on the microscope and then you observe under a microscope, and this is what you see.
Excuse me, teacher.
Now yes, please.
Teacher, this diagram is confusing.
Complicated.
Yeah.
Yes, that is true.
Complicated.
This diagram is confusing, but I'm going to draw it and I simplify it here on my right hand side here. Okay, so first pay attention and you see how I simplify it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, look at this. I am going to draw this outer layer that you are seeing. Okay, and with the time you're going to see what you have in your books if you have these notes. So this is how it is going to appear. So we have that root here, we have that root here, we have that root here, and this thing is double layered. So that's why I'm drawing the inner part like that. And then there's no way how I can draw this cortex. So you don't need to draw this. I draw the endodermis. I draw the endodermis. And then I draw the pericycle, this white layer.
Excuse me, teacher.
I'm drawing that white layer.
Wait,
yes.
finish
And then I draw. Yes, please.
So why are there
Let
no
me finish.
layers
You're going to
of
understand. Okay, let me first finish. So after, then we shall have this xylem. Please, Joram, don't
transport water.
So we have this xylem here, which is in form of a star shape. So I draw it here. It's in form of a star shape. And then on the side, this is where lies the phloem. This is why you have the phloem. That's the phloem. That's a phloem. That's a phloem. That's a phloem. So in summary, this is what you have in your one notes. For some of you who have these notes, if you have done it in your school, if you have done it in your school, you should be having this this structure here. Okay, is there anyone who has this structure in their notes?
No.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
There's some with this structure in the notes.
This teacher.
Okay. For some of you are saying.
Yes, so we have that diagram.
Yes, teacher.
We are not yet started.
Okay, some of you are not yet reached there.
Diagram.
Okay, thank you. You may mute. Now, for some of you who have this diagram, this is where it came from. And I think for some of you have been saying that it is hard. It's because you are not reached there. Okay, but this is it. And you are supposed to be able to label it. X, this is the endodermis, pericycle, this is the phloem, and the xylem in the middle. Okay. Because this thing has over disturbed you, I'm going to end here. Unless you have any question. Maybe someone was having a question that why is it that in this picture here, picture A, let me write A, there are no root hairs. Yes, now what you must know is that it's not that every time a lateral root may have a root hair on them. So, but for us, we drawing it is there, and that's why I'm placing the root hairs there. Okay. Do you have any question before I end the class? Come again.
Your work is there.
May you send us the link?
Yeah, for any example, we might have.
I've not got you. Someone is saying the work is barely
appearing on my screen.
Maybe my type I'm not getting it, maybe because of network.
Yeah. How
Excuse me.
Please, one by one. The link. There will be the admin will be sharing to you the link